have a
that
doing
state, and
business tax
taxes.
usually. So you pretty much just pay
Associated
taxes
in
everywhere is
different
usually
states.
the answer to that
It just
question.
depends on what type of form. If you're saying we're not incorporated and we're just partnership, it's all passed through, so you're paying your individual taxes, and that, you know, you end up having to pay taxes in different states if you're working in different states. It's complicated. You'd want to talk to an accountant.
But if you don't make business in a different state, but you work for an organization that is in a different state, then you get taxed.
Different.
You just pay taxes to both
Yeah.
states.
You pay tax to both.
I don't know how they divide it, but they get you.
I have more questions about investment and
Please, we'll try and answer.
So we were trying to Gowrie during the dinner break, but our situation is that we're speaking to a potential investor who wants to invest in our company, and we've made it very clear to him that we're co-op, so he cannot have a vote.
Right.
Yeah, we made that very clear. You cannot have a vote in our decisions. That's just how we operate. And but he's still interested in investing with the hope of making a return on his investment and having, he's saying, like, a more long-term revenue stream for himself. He's like, I know you won't be able to produce profits necessarily right away, or I'd expect them to be very small right at the beginning, but over time I'd like to see a return on my investment. And so we're just curious if you guys know of other co-ops that have done this. Like, how does a co-op work with an investor? How does that ever look? Like, what kind of protections do we need to put in place?
I know of an LLC that had a similar issue. So where you guys are organized as an LLC, I would assume it'd be the same thing. And I wish I had my paper on me.
I think I see you on my response to them, right?
Yeah.
Basically, but that was more of the question: is it a security?
I believe it is a security. That's how it was explained to me. Basically, anytime you're, allowing someone to invest, but you're taking away their, control over their investments. So in this situation, they don't have a vote. They're kind of placing their, their money in your hands and expecting a return. That tends to be a security. That being said, however, I know there's at the very least that, is it intrastate? I can't remember the term, like the name of the exception, but there is one exception. So if someone is from Rhode Island and investing in a Rhode Island company,
Oh, yeah.
there is an exception for that. And then there's a few other ones, especially when it's like just one investor, depending on how minimal the investment is. I know we did counsel, like I said, the other LLC, and everything looked as if it would be okay, just by nature of like the different exceptions available. But that's something I, could look into more definitively.
So when you say an exception, you mean like it wouldn't necessarily be classified as a security then?
There's an exemption from registering.
From registering.
It would have to
Oh,
be
okay.
extra.
Yeah, because registration is, after looking into it, very expensive, very time consuming, and you would probably want an attorney that really specializes in, securities.
But Equal Exchange you can invest in Equal Exchange, and so they have that set up where anyone can invest in it. But typically with investments, you're not guaranteeing that they're gonna get anything back, right? It's not a loan.
Right, that's like, I think that's where you have to make it clear. Maybe this person, what they really want to do is like a low interest loan, or like a amortized loan, or like a loan that at the beginning you don't pay interest and the interest get accumulated at the end.
Right, and that's what we feel most comfortable with as a loan, because then there's a very clear term that like once we pay back the loan, that's it. Whereas this sounds a little scary to me because it sounds more open-ended, where he's like, yeah, I'll just continue collecting revenue from you guys. Or,
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to make sure he understands that he might not get anything back from
That's
you.
the big thing.
And what you guys are locked
It's
into,
the risk.
because he can't vote, you can. If he gets booted, what are his rights? Like if he was, I think that's. I'm not sure.
it seems risky for him, right? Because like we're taking away his voting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
rights, that
surprised
we
he
don't want
wants
to
to
work
do
with him
this.
anymore.
Yeah, because he's
But
taking a risk too. I mean,
then again, it's does he believe in what you're doing, really supports the business and feels positive that, I'm gonna get
much
something
think
back.
do it. I want to
Yeah.
support it.
That seems to be his.
I think that's like the Equal Exchange investors as
Yeah.
well. I really believe in.
And then the other
It's
thing-
been like good, like 5%.
Yeah, but they are being very steady.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that we're considering is having going through the Co-op Fund of New England. They have program where you can like have an investor invest in a fund of England and like they'll earmark it to go to a loan towards us, and then so the investor is essentially the collateral. He's providing the collateral in case we default on our loan. He takes the hit.
That's really interesting.
But there's also protection, so then the investor gets a return on the investment into Co-op Fund of New England. They pay him a
Seems
return.
like a really great option.
So and then it seems like it might be good because there's a mediation in between. Like there's a little buffer. It's more formal.
And there's also just seems like rules and structures in place, whereas if you create this kind of
they know what they're doing.
ambiguous, we're gonna just give you money forever, we don't really know what the terms of it or how it's gonna work. I mean, that seems like a really great option.
Seems like a safer option, right?
Yeah.
But you're not the ones who really stand. I mean, as long as we kind of looked into what you need to disclose to him and made sure that he was, you know, able and sophisticated or whatever the term legally is. I mean, there's not very much risk on your end.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure you understand this is an investment.
Except for the fact that we have to register. That's our responsibility.
You wouldn't have to register. You'd be exempt from the registration. But even if you're exempt, you still have to take certain steps.
Certain precautions and make sure that he not only understands the risk of his investment, but also has a full, clear picture of your business and where you are, you know, with your business
And keeping him informed too, as things unfold.
Okay.
And how much time you're gonna spend trying to deal with this person if something goes wrong.
That's the thing. Yeah. The work how like what's the working relationship gonna look like is the tricky part for us. Is like how is this gonna work? What are the limits? What are the boundaries? What norms can we put in place? And how do we hold him accountable? How does he hold us accountable? Seems like there's a lot that could go wrong.
I feel like first of all you have to educate him. What if he's coming in with no experience with a co-op?
And he did. He came to me with very little understanding of what it
Right.
does.
So you have to educate him, and then that's when you start from there.
Right.
What do we mean by like security in this case, and what is an equal exchange investor?
So Equal Exchange is that
Exactly.
co-op that they were passing around the catalog for earlier. So it's a co-op, pretty well established co-op in Massachusetts. It's coffee and chocolate.
And they have securities, they sell securities, so you can invest in them. But securities are different than loans, because they're, so you, and it's weird that it's called security because it's insecure.
It's very interesting. That's a really good point.
Kind of a misnomer.
Right. But I guess like a lot of people are interested when it's like a long term, and it's like usually happens in companies that have a big return. And you don't have to be a bank, because usually to make certain loans you have to have like an intermediary, like a bank or.
Yeah, so securities is basically any type of investment, or you're giving money into something where you're not trying to get paid off of other people's work, so you're not a member in the business.
You're not actively involved with what they're doing. You're very much like a passive investor. And
It's like
yeah,
buying
so-
stock in a corporation, right?
And
You're not,
getting
you don't know, you
profits
could
and
lose
making
all of
money.
that stock.
Yeah, and that's where it tends to become more of an
But,
issue, like
I
the
think
Securities
it's not
Exchange
that easy.
Commission, and you know they tend to regulate. That's where the registration part comes in. Is you're supposed to register the security just so that they know that what you're telling these investors is truthful, and that you know.
You're just like, yeah, we're gonna make $1 million
Yeah.
next month.
Right.
Of course I'll give you money for that.
And
Like,
that's why the government heavily regulates it, because they don't want your
People being
grandma to
like,
get
yeah,
swindled by
yeah.
So that's the
salesman
protection
guy.
for the person that's
Yes,
investing
it's
money.
through the government.
Gotcha.
Basically making sure things are transparent and, you know, where they need to be, so that although it is certainly a risky investment, at least people are,
aware.
you know,
But you
aware.
end up paying like tens of thousands of dollars for lawyers to drop documents,
yeah.
and all they say are, you may lose all your money, you may lose all your money, you may lose
Yeah.
all your
We
money.
didn't say it was a good system, we just said it exists.
You still get.
We still sustain a system that is.
But failing to register a security, failing to recognize that something's a security, and then failing to register it if you did need to register it, that's where, you know, people can get in trouble, or like
Securities
businesses.
Exchange Commission, and they are crazy.
So
Like,
are
they
you
are.
Are you saying we'd be exempt because of the size of the investment? Most likely?
There's several.
Yeah,
We're
there
not-
are
we're not
exemption
sure.
meetings.
We're not
exempt.
sure if he's from Rhode Island.
Right.
There are
There's
other-
an
there's
exception
other
for like
Very
it's called
small.
private placement. You know the
Mhm.
person. It's
You're
not
only
like you
reaching out to one person. You're not
It's not
telling
you haven't
everyone.
advertised like come buy part of it.
Soldiers
Yeah.
for sale. Like, that's not.
Which you could, but then you need to do the proper registration.
Gotcha. Okay.
I drafted a whole thing last semester, and Rhode Island law does account for like smaller businesses like that, and I think it's under a certain amount of, you know, money that's invested and under a certain number of investors, you'll wind up exempt. You just have to, again, make sure they're like a sophisticated investor, which
Yeah.
boils, I hope I'm not missing any elements of this, but boils down to them knowing what they're getting into, you know, being able to understand the risk, and then like you're being clear about where you are with your business.
He's at least gonna become very school in all these things.
Yeah.
And really fancy.
It's very risky.
You guys free pedicab rides for life, and that's all we can promise.
Yeah.
As long as the
It's
company's
solid.
grown. And that's how the crowdfund act is supposed to help make it even easier for
Yeah,
people
they only
to
write the rules for
run
it.
investments. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you go to
Yeah.
the intermediary, and they're the ones that are checked out, and up to certain amounts, you can just invest through that without having to
Be great
have it.
actually.
The crowd with
Yeah, should we just start an Indiegogo campaign? Have them just put all the money in Indiegogo?
But then it's not guaranteed. Like Indiegogo, you're just making a donation.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
It's
But they don't require you to be a nonprofit, or do they?
No.
No.
We did it Indiegogo when we
Oh,
first
that's right.
started.
Does
Yeah.
Kickstarter require
Kickstarter.
it?
I think has different rules than
Yeah.
Indiegogo. We couldn't do Kickstarter.
I'm so sleepy.
This is so much fun.
It is, but I'm sleepy.